What's good, y'all? This is the real A-Town, aka RGB Fox, and I am here with another hat format replay. Still playing Mermail here. I am testing a different build that I decided to come up with, and hopefully it ends up doing well here in any future tournaments that I join into. I am going against Cat. It doesn't become evident right away, but they are playing the card D version of Artifact Traptrix. And for my opening hand, I have Tejas, Dragoons, Undyne, TT, and Abyssphere versus my opponent, who has Compulse, Breakthrough, Mermail, Called by, Trap Hole Nightmare, and Bottomless Trap Hole. He didn't really have anything else in hand. Obviously, the Mermail is kind of dead, but you know, at the end of the day, it is a body, right? My opponent did win the rock paper scissors, so he ended up going first, and we'll see what he does. Oh, whoop-de-doo, he sets 5 and then passes, right? Which is pretty normal. For my turn, I draw Mooling Glacia, and not the greatest draw in the world, but it is something to, you know, lead me to victory later on, as you guys will see. So with 5 back row, I automatically knew that he is playing hat, so I gotta be very careful. Luckily, there is no what's his name, artifacts cards set down here, so regardless, even if there was, my play is going to be starting with the Gen X Undyne, in which he immediately breakthrough skills, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna pay cost. I always ask if the summon is okay, because a lot of the times I've had opponents just warning the Undyne. It does set you back a turn, and it really hurts, but they end up breakthrough skilling way too early, and you know, that's already information that I have been given, of course. So regardless, I still have to pay cost, right? Even then, this would resolve first, and if he does choose to break through skill, then that means that there's only 4 left here. So Marksman, obviously in the new chain, I'm going to go ahead and target a card. Ends up targeting the Bottomless Trap Hole, which was really good because now I can safely Tejas here without losing it, at least I think. But as you see here, I go Channeling 1 Dragoons. It is mandatory, and in hat format, Grave Effects will activate first as they met their trigger quota, and then Tejas is Channeling 2. Here he does have the Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare, so I end up losing the Tejas, and I don't get the Search. So with the Dragoons, I end up just adding the Marksman, because I have a Sphere and a Torrential, right? The Sphere can get the Lind, you know, on the board, destroyed, and then I can follow that up with a Abyss Pike to drop the Marksman and get another Undyne. So that's basically the game plan overall. I swing for 12, and then I set 2 pass. He draws Dianea. Now, I wholeheartedly think that he should have summoned the Mermail earlier last turn, and the reason is that it would have been a body for him to protect himself with, so that he didn't have to take any unnecessary damage. And also, if he had a different level 4 that he drew into, or let's say another copy of Mermail, he could make an immediate Abyss Dweller. But like, that's hindsight. Regardless, I always think putting pressure on the board is better than not. So yeah, with these 2 being lost, he's of course just going to run over the Undyne, and before the end phase, I go ahead and Sphere, and then Sphere will destroy itself along with Lind, and I go ahead and grab the Pike here. I go ahead, discard Marksman, grab the Undyne, and I think Marksman ends up popping this card here, the Call, which yeah, it does. And then I draw for turn. Here, the only thing that I'm thinking of doing now is to run over this monster and hopefully, you know, take advantage of the fact that I am now in a more confident game state in which I could take advantage of the situation fairly easy to be able to implant myself further into the game, since he has used 4 pieces of his back row, not including the one that I popped, of course. He's about to. So yeah, I go for the Undyne, send Marksman, but I ended up taking him back and thinking I want to drop the title. It was kind of a mistake to drop the Marksman anyways, but you know, we'll deal with that later. From here, I do summon the title, and I run over the Mermail, swing with Undyne, and then hit him directly with the pike as well. In hindsight, he could have compulsed my title and forced me to crash with the pike, but of course this also has utility in the hand as well, so perhaps that's why he didn't do it. Can't really blame him too much, but yeah. Anyways, he goes Diana here, and I don't use the TT. I feel pretty confident that I can play through the 101, and he just swings over the pike. From here, I draw into another Undyne, which is honestly pretty great. Otherwise, I would have just summoned the Gen X controller. And I go, send, I think, heavy infantry. Grab the second controller from my deck, and then heavy infantry is going to target the 101, in which I will get my title back. This now gives me 4, 5, 6, 7, plus these two would be 9, right? In order to have those waters for me to banish. So nowhere near 5, but you don't really want to drop it here right now, since they don't have any cards in hand, right? But yeah, he goes compulse, and now I just decide to banish 2 to swing over, and he does hit me with the moral tech. Now, so he draws a card D, and obviously he could deal damage and then pass. And I guess, like, in hindsight, this is a pretty good play by him, because he's going to, of course, maintain defense and draw 2, right? In which case, not only can he protect his life points, but also he gets to draw 2 cards confidently without worrying too much about what I'm going to do. In hindsight, would it be best to just swing for 42? I mean, I have 4 cards in hand, right? So he knows at the very least I can make a Leo. I don't know. I guess if I were him, I probably would do the same play. Not gonna lie. Card D, you need the advantage of drawing 2. You don't want to, wait a turn and pray that you have, like, I don't know, another Sanctum that you can draw into in order to keep playing and stalling for a bit to resolve the card D later. So yeah, he ends up doing that and drawing 2, which ends up being another card D and an ignition. Here though, I do draw a soul charge for turn, and I have 7,100 life points. I am perfectly healthy. So what do? I target 4. I could have targeted 5, with like an Undyne and then normal summon like a controller and made a rank 3 on top of what I'm about to do, but I end up just playing it overall safe because I do want to resolve the Moving Glacier and get rid of, any potential cards in his hand that could affect me, such as a Dark Hole or perhaps another Sanctum that he could have. Maybe it's a another Diana, right? So I just go for a simple Bahamut Shark, summon the Abyss Trite, search Megalo, and then I go for a Draco Sack to get the 5th water in the grave. I go ahead and pop the 101. The reason why I pop the 101 is that if he has like a, let's say, another level 5 that he could summon, he would have to tribute over the Moral Tech, and then he'd be forced to, lose the body for no reason. Instead of, putting it in the grave, and if he has like a called by next turn, he could like potentially use it. But I guess with so little cards in his hand, it didn't really matter. But yeah, as the replay goes on here, we summon the Moving Glacier, discard 2, and we end up going for the next match, or next game rather. I do side, and you'll see what I sided here. Malcat, but overall, he is going to go first again. Could he have played that a little bit better? I think he could have just been a little bit more aggressive earlier, but that's about it. Nothing much else that he could have really improved on, because again, you're playing Cat. You will have the turns where you have the card D, and of course you want to utilize it as soon as you can. Otherwise, it just becomes a dead card and you're falling behind every single time. But that's also a reason why I personally prefer the hat version. The hat version is always able to apply pressure. It's a level 4. You can attack, you can exceed, you can crash and break the opponent's board bit by bit. But both decks have their positives and negatives, right? So Moving on, I have two Malevolent Catastrophes, Abyss Pike, Megalo, and a Sphere, whereas my opponent starts with Sanctum, Bottomless, Warning, Duality, Tribute, TT rather, and Compulse. So he goes for the Duality, grabs the Mermail. Mermail is going to go ahead and add the traptrix, trap hole, Nightmare. Not sure why he immediately put it back, but yeah. And then he ends up setting 5. Again, he doesn't start with any artifact cards aside from the Sanctum, and even then he uses it early, so you'll see that he ends up utilizing it fairly quickly. You'll see why here in a moment. Abyss Pike is able to drop the Megalo and search for a marksman. I go Crash. If I was him, I probably would have used the Sanctum. In fact, I probably would have used the Bottomless, right? I don't know why he was so keen on just allowing this to just maintain its presence, but regardless, I'm banking on him having a monster to attack with and using the Malevolent Chaining Sphere to provide myself with a Lind in order to get another body, and if I have to, right, get rid of another back row. But yeah, he doesn't really use anything here, and he grabs card off the top deck, right? So on the card D Tribute, I chain Lin because this is going to immediately take us to the end phase if I don't do anything to the response of that card. So end phase, destroy, get a lead. I could have gone in Abyss Pike instead, but I know that he has the traptrix, trap hole, Nightmare, so I was banking on him not having the Bottomless. Fortunately, he did have it, so yeah, it's my L in that regard. I draw Gunned, really bad, right? But hey, what can you do? I go ahead and pass, and then he top decks Duality, grabs the Dionea. If I was him, I probably would have grabbed card D. I think that's like a much better card in this situation, but I know that it could be beneficial as next turn you could go summon, pop the back row, and make an Abyss Dweller, right? And then I'm really fucked, especially with all the protections in the background. Or so I'd say. Again, my opponent plays pretty passively here, and you'll see why, or eventually rather. I go for the marksman. He goes, finally uses the Sanctum, summons the Moral Tech, and so I set my second Malevolent Catastrophe. As you can see here, he just swings directly. Instead of summoning Dionea and summoning Mermail to pop one of my back row. That, I was expecting to lose one, right? So I didn't want to, just give him the free catastrophe, right? But he ends up giving that for free to me. So I catastrophe. I mean, I lose it, but it's fine. One heavy storm, quote unquote, is all I need here. So I top deck the Allure, which is nice, but I don't really have any other like play. Again, he doesn't summon the Dionea. There is really nothing that he has to be afraid about. That would have been an extra 17, so I would have been at what, 2100 points of damage, of life points rather, and I would have been in a dangerous zone. At this point, Soul Charge is like pretty bad for me, right? But no, he plays it as carefully as he possibly can. I set a Lind, I go ahead and summon Pike, discard the Gundy at Undyne, and then Gundy's gonna summon the Abyss Megalo, because again, Bottomless is at 1, so I don't have to worry about it. Plus is in the damage step, and I need to get over the Moral Tech as soon as I possibly can. So yeah, next turn, I draw into an MST. He goes, I go Undyne, discard Title, or rather send it to the grave from deck, and then summon, and then yeah, I go ahead and just swing with all these. I could have tributed for the Megalo, but I didn't want to like just lose bodies in case he had other forms of removal. So from here, I go for the what's his face, Dracosac, and he Black Horns, and I mean he has Dark Hole, he has Dionea, he has Sanctum. He's in a pretty okay spot in my opinion. So he Dark Holes here, goes Dionea finally, and unfortunately it's a couple turns too late. So I go ahead and Breakthrough Skillet. And yeah, end phase MST is going to pop the newly set because I know what this is, of course, and it ends up being a Sanctum, which is very good for me, obviously. And I go ahead and draw the infantry. I summon the title, of course. I want to just get the damage in, and I summon the controller for game. So what could my opponent have done better? Number one, I think bottomless for the pike could have been fine. It would have kept his monster on board, and he wouldn't have had to worry about debating on whether or not to Sanctum early, right? With Mermails, you want to get as much pressure against them as soon as possible, right? Now, would it have been a misplay for him to attack, knowing that Malevolent Catastrophe is a potential side card? Maybe. It's definitely something that you should keep in mind as a hat player, because you don't want to just lose your back row all willy-nilly. Overall, him playing careful kind of made no sense in the long run, because there's no battle traps that are really played in this format. And even if there was, he can recover fairly well because, again, he had Dionea, he had Moral Tech, he has the Ignitions coming through, he started getting some Sanctums. He could have been more aggressive and put me on better habit or not. And for a couple of turns, I didn't. I had the Gundy, I had Marksman, right? You know, there was nothing that I really could do there. And that's how some of your turns will play out on Mermails. If you can't just keep getting cards like Pike, if you can't keep getting cards like, what's his face? Teus, right? Any spheres, etc. You are going to play a slow game in which they will increase their tempo tenfold, and it's hard to catch up at that point. But the Malevolent Catastrophe really helped me out, because I don't think with what I had, I was playing through all of this, right? That would have been the more difficult challenge. So I end up establishing game here. This would have been 1100 points of damage, bringing him to what, 1200, and then 14. Yeah, that would be game. So yeah, if you're a hat player, don't be afraid to attack. Don't be afraid to use your cards. You want to be able to win this matchup because it should be free for the most part, so long as your opponent doesn't go first and they don't establish anything, you know, to outpace you. The MSTs were great. I said in a previous video that I wish that I didn't have the MSTs against this matchup as much. But it comes in clutch, especially when they don't have artifacts alongside their board. So I guess I changed my mind a little bit over the card, and I'm happy that I did. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all eyes that I get on my channel. I will release a Mermail deck profile soon, because I do want to explore the best ways to beat the hat matchup as best as I can. Do note that you will struggle if you want to play this deck, but overall, this is probably your worst matchup alongside Boojins. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Peace. Have a great day.